I never thought I'd be that guy, the one posting on some relationship advice subreddit about how my wife screwed me over. But here I am, and honestly, it's a mess I can't keep bottled up anymore. My name's Mark, by the way. I'm 42, married to Lisa for about 15 years now, and we have a daughter, Emily, who's 10. Things started feeling off a few months ago, but I wasn't sure what exactly. Lisa's always been a bit of a bitch, demanding, dismissive, quick to lie, and I guess I just let it go, thinking maybe she was stressed or whatever. But then I noticed she was acting weird about her phone. She'd hide it whenever I came near, and her texts seemed more secretive than usual. I didn't think much of it at first, figuring maybe she was talking to friends or planning a surprise or something. But I found myself wondering if she was hiding something, especially when I caught her shutting down her laptop suddenly if I walked into the room. Still, I didn't jump to conclusions. Then came the moment that changed everything. It was a Thursday evening, and I was helping Emily with her homework. At the kitchen table after dinner, Lisa had gone to her room to take a break, as she always said. I was tired and decided to use the family computer to fill out some permission slips for Emily's school. It was routine, nothing unusual, until I noticed the browser history. There were dozens of emails from the recent weeks that didn't make sense. Names I didn't recognize, some with subject lines like "Can't wait to see you tonight," "Our secret," and even more explicit stuff that was obviously about sex. My stomach dropped. I was stunned, staring at the screen, trying to process what I was seeing. I scrolled through more emails, and it was clear Lisa had been exchanging these with someone from Emily's school, a guy named David, who's the principal, for God's sake. I couldn't believe it. Emily's principal, the guy who's supposed to be a role model. I mean, I knew Lisa wasn't exactly Mrs. Innocent, but this was next level. I felt a mix of anger, betrayal, and disgust flooding me all at once. How long had this been going on? Was Emily even safe around that man? It felt like my world was crumbling in that moment. I didn't even know how to process it. I just sat there, staring at the screen, trying not to lose my mind. I sat there for what felt like forever, computer screen glowing in the dark kitchen, my mind racing. I could feel my hands trembling. My wife, Lisa, had always been a manipulative bitch, but seeing those emails made everything hit harder. It wasn't just some fling. She'd been sneaking around for months, and with the principal of Emily's school. That's some next-level betrayal. How was I supposed to trust her anymore? How could I look at her the same way? I kept going over everything I'd seen, trying to find some rational explanation, but honestly there was none. The emails were explicit, filled with promises, flirtation, and outright sex talk. She even mentioned meeting him after hours at the school. I could hardly breathe. My mind kept flashing to Emily, to what this could mean for her, my little girl's principal. I wanted to scream or break something. Instead, I shut the browser and sat there frozen. Before I could do anything rash, I decided I should confront Lisa. I had to know if this was real or if somehow I was imagining it. So I quietly got up, went to her room, and found her lying on the bed, scrolling through her phone. She looked up when I entered, her face already defensive. "What's wrong, Mark?" she asked, that fake, bitchy tone she always used when she was about to lie her way out of something. I just stared at her, feeling my jaw tight. "Who is David?" I said, voice cold. Her eyes flickered and she sat up slowly, trying to act innocent. "What are you talking about? That's just some email mix-up. You saw what? Maybe some spam." She chuckled, but I wasn't buying it. I pulled out the emails I'd printed from the computer. She saw them and her face changed instantly, from that fake smile to something more like panic. "Oh, come on, Mark," she sneered. "You're overreacting. That's nothing. Just some stupid, flirty emails from when I was stressed. It doesn't mean anything. He's just a principal. He's not some lover or anything." She looked angry now, like I was the one making a fuss over nothing. But I knew better. I saw the way she lied, the way she tried to downplay it. She's always been good at that, spinning stories, acting innocent. But I wasn't buying her bullshit anymore. I felt a mix of rage and heartbreak. How could she do this? How could she lie so effortlessly? I wanted to tear her apart, scream at her, ask her why she thought it was okay to cheat with the principal of my daughter's school. The same principal trusted with Emily's education. I wanted to believe I was just overthinking, that maybe I was wrong, but deep down I knew the truth. And it destroyed me inside. After she finished her pathetic excuse, I just stared at her, feeling every ounce of my trust evaporate. The room felt like it was closing in on me and I couldn't breathe right. I was furious, but underneath the rage there was a cold, sinking sadness. I had built a life with Lisa, worked hard, trusted her, believed she was my partner. And now I saw her for what she really was, a manipulative liar who'd been screwing around with our daughter's principal for months. I needed to think. I couldn't just blow up and say something I'd regret, but at the same time I knew I had to act. I told her I needed to be alone for a bit, that I'd be back. I wanted to process everything before we had a real talk. I went into the garage, shut the door, and just stood there, trying to make sense of what had happened. My mind kept circling back to Emily, to how Lisa had been lying to me, sneaking around, and how that bastard David was involved in it all. I felt betrayed, yeah, but I also felt something else, a strange sense of clarity. I realized I couldn't just forgive this. Not easily. I'd been a good husband, a good father, and I'd trusted her with everything I had. But now I saw she'd been feeding me lies the whole time. I started plotting my next move. I didn't want to do anything reckless, at least not yet, but I knew she had to pay for this. The next morning, I woke up with that same sick feeling in my stomach. I decided I'd do some digging, find out exactly how deep this rabbit hole went. First, I wanted to see the emails for myself and get a sense of how long this had been going on. Then I'd decide what to do. I wasn't planning to just walk away without consequences. Lisa might have thought she was clever, lying and cheating, but I was about to turn the tables. I also knew I had to keep this quiet. I didn't want her to find out I'd seen everything until I was ready. So I spent the day carefully keeping an eye on her, pretending everything was normal. Meanwhile, I started looking into her phone and her emails more closely, searching for more clues. I knew this wasn't just a one-time thing. Those emails proved she'd been messing around with David for months, maybe longer. I had to be smart about this, but I also knew I'd never let her get away with it without some serious consequences. By the time evening rolled around, I'd gathered enough to confirm my worst fears. I had found even more emails, some from weeks ago, others just a couple of days before I discovered everything. Lisa had been sneaking out after Emily went to bed, meeting David late at night. They'd been exchanging explicit messages, sharing fantasies, planning secret encounters. Reading those emails made my blood boil. The audacity, the lies, she'd been living a double life right under my nose. I was furious but also hurt. I kept asking myself how I missed the signs, how I was so blind to her manipulation. She played me like a fool, lying nonstop, pretending to be the perfect wife and mother. And for what? Some sick thrill, a chance to cheat with the principal of our daughter's school. I'd always known Lisa could be bitchy and selfish, but this was beyond anything I expected. That night I decided I had to confront her again. I found her in the kitchen, pretending to be calm. She was sipping on her wine, acting like she'd done nothing wrong. I told her I knew everything, the emails, the meetings. Her face instantly shifted, a mixture of annoyance and defiance. "You're overreacting, Mark. It's not what you think. This is just some stupid mistake I made when I was stressed. It doesn't mean I love him or anything," she spat. Her tone was dismissive, as if she thought I was just jealous or insecure. I lost it then. I told her she was a manipulative, cheating bitch who'd been screwing around with our daughter's principal. I told her that I'd seen enough, that I was done trusting her. I wanted her to understand that her lies had shattered whatever was left of my respect for her. I didn't yell. I just talked calmly, but with enough anger to make her feel the weight of what she'd done. Her eyes flickered with that familiar anger, that fake indignation she always used when caught. I told her I was going to take some time to think and I'd be leaving her for a while. I needed space to process this betrayal. I told her it was over, at least for now. She scoffed, rolled her eyes, and said I was overreacting, that she'd never cheat on me and that I was crazy for even thinking such things. But I knew better. I knew she'd lied to me for months, lied to herself, and thought she could get away with it forever. Not anymore. I was done, completely and utterly done with her bullshit. As I walked out of the house that night, I felt like my world was crumbling. But I also knew I couldn't stay, not with her, not after this. I was hurt, angry, betrayed, everything. And yet a small part of me knew that I had to stand up for myself, for my daughter, and for what was right. I didn't exactly have a plan yet, but I knew that this wasn't the end of it. Lisa had pushed me to the edge, and I was ready to see where this all led. The days that followed were a whirlwind of emotions and decisions. I moved out, taking just enough to have a place to stay while I figured everything out. I stayed at a cheap hotel for a few nights, trying to keep my head clear, but honestly, I felt like I was walking around in a fog. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those emails, her lying to my face, Emily's innocent face not knowing what was happening behind her back. It was a mess I didn't even know how to untangle. Meanwhile, Lisa was still trying to play the innocent victim. She called me several times, acting all hurt, saying she made a terrible mistake, but still swearing she loved me and our daughter. I could hear the fake tears in her voice, and honestly, I was sick of it. I wasn't going to be manipulated anymore. I told her straight that I wasn't coming back until I was sure this was over, until I saw some real change. I told her she'd been caught, and she needed to accept the consequences. What really pushed me to move forward was seeing how she continued to lie even after all I knew. She kept trying to deny it, acting like I was the problem. That's when I decided I needed to get serious. I started talking to a lawyer, gathering evidence of her affair and her ongoing contact with David. I knew I couldn't just walk away. If I wanted to protect Emily and myself, I had to do this the right way. I also started secretly talking to a private investigator, just to confirm everything and see what else she might be hiding. During those talks, I realized she was still trying to manipulate people, still lying. She told her friends that I was overreacting, that I was just jealous and insecure. But I knew better. I knew she'd been lying to everyone, hiding her affair, trying to keep her double life intact. It made me realize that I had to be strong, that I couldn't let her spin this into some pity story. I was done being her puppet. One night while she was out supposedly meeting friends, I found her phone unlocked. I saw more messages from David, some sent just hours before. I took screenshots, saved everything, knowing I'd need it as evidence. That's when I felt a strange mix of relief and anger. Relief because I finally had proof, and anger because she still thought she could hide it, still thought she could get away with it. That's when I decided I'd fight for my family, not just for me but for Emily too. I wasn't going to let her destroy us with her lies and betrayal. This was just the beginning, and I was ready for whatever was coming next. After gathering everything, proof, evidence, and my own resolve, I knew I had to face her one last time. I wasn't going to let her keep manipulating me or make me doubt myself anymore. I set up a meeting at a neutral place, told her to meet me there, and I was determined to get some honest answers. When she arrived, I could see the fake confidence in her eyes, but I wasn't fooled anymore. I laid out all the evidence on the table. The emails, the messages, the fact that I knew she'd been lying to everyone, including her friends, about everything. Her face turned pale, and for a moment she just stared at the proof, silent. Then she started spinning her usual lies, crying crocodile tears, saying she'd made a mistake, that she was sorry, that she never meant for it to go this far. She begged me to forgive her, to give her another chance. But I just looked at her and shook my head. I told her she'd lost my trust completely, that I couldn't stay with someone who would betray me, cheat on me, and try to manipulate everyone around her. I explained that I wanted full custody of Emily, so she wouldn't be around David or that whole mess anymore. I also told her she needed to get help, or I'd pursue legal action to ensure she couldn't hurt us further. Her protests fell on deaf ears. I'd already made up my mind. That day marked the end of what I thought was supposed to be a happy marriage. It hurt more than I can put into words. But honestly, the pain was a wake-up call. I realized I'd been blind for too long, that I'd let her manipulate me into thinking everything was fine when it was chaos behind the scenes. I learned that trust, once broken, is almost impossible to rebuild, especially when betrayal is so deep. Now I focus on rebuilding my life, making sure Emily is safe and loved, far away from her mother's lies and manipulation. I've learned the importance of being vigilant, of not turning a blind eye to the signs. For anyone else going through something similar, trust your gut. If you find evidence of betrayal, don't ignore it. Confront it head-on, protect yourself, and prioritize the well-being of your children. Because at the end of the day, the truth might hurt, but living in denial only makes it worse. I've lost a lot, but I've gained clarity. And now, I'm just trying to move forward, one step at a time, without her.